Hey Brian, hey YouTube.
Hey,
How's it going?
it's excellent.
Yes, excellent. Thank you everyone for being here live or watching the video later. We're going to kick this thing off. Hello and welcome to Python Bytes, where we deliver Python news and headlines directly to your earbuds. This is episode 440, recorded July 15th, 2025. I am Michael Kennedy,
And I am Brian Ocken.
and this episode is brought to you by Propel Auth. I'm going to tell you more about them later, but make auth easy for your app and don't spend time on things that are not your core value proposition. Get auth for your apps with them. Links to the top of your podcast player show notes. If you want to connect with us, Brian, I don't even know where people should connect with us anymore. We're on Mastodon, we're on Blue Sky, we're here on YouTube. People can comment on the YouTube channel, on the YouTube video. That actually is a place that a lot of the feedback happens. So any of those places, and if you want to be part of the live show, pythonbytes.fm/live, usually Mondays at 10 a.m. Today we're 25 hours later, I guess. I don't know. Tuesday because sometimes life intervenes, but generally Monday at 10 a.m. And if you want a really nice summary and a little bit of extra information around the episode, not just rehash of the show notes, but something different, be sure to sign up for the Friends of the Show. Just visit pythonbytes.fm, newsletter button right at the front. Enter your email. We'll treat it kindly. We won't share it or sell it, but we will send you cool stuff Brian puts together for you. Speaking of cool things, Brian, let's switch over to you and see what we're talking about.
Okay, well, I want to let's see. First, I want to add something to the screen. How do I do that? There we go. Um, I want to bring up a rehash an old episode. So in episode 438, so just a couple episodes ago, one of the things we talked about was I talked about Durenv. Where's that at? There's a lot of stuff on the show notes. Anyway, my CLI world from Frank Wiles, and one of the things was Durenv, and so I've been thinking about it. Also, while we're here, I'll just go ahead and show people that you can see the cool stuff like my book, your course, and where do people subscribe again? People subscribe right at the top. Oh, be part of the live show, and scroll down, and there's a newsletter right there.
Newsletter. Yep.
Anyway, so I wanted to talk about the Durenv a little bit again, and I think I may have said what it's not before. So Durenv is just a tool. It says unclutter your .profile, and the main thing people use it for is these .envrc files, or optionally .env files that basically use that to load up um, environmental variables when you go into a directory. That's really mostly it. But in Python world, we use that also to do other work. Like, I guess everybody else uses it to do other work as well. But one of the things we do is invoke virtual environments when you go in, and that's really what I'll be using it for. So I really want to talk about where is this Trey Hunter's there it is. Trey Hunter's blog post called, and this is an older one from, not too old, last year, switching from virtual env wrapper to Durenv, Starship, and UV. Well, I don't really care about the from virtual env wrapper because I didn't use it before. So I'm thinking this is just switching to Durenv and UV. And when reading this, and I can't remember who brought this up, but uh, when reading this, it brings up a lot of the things that I didn't like about Durenv the first time I tried it, and Trey fixes all of those things. So let's look at a few of the things that he fixes. So he does talk about making it work with Z shell. I've made it work with Bash as well, so it works fine with most of at least all the Linux type shells that I've used. So the first off, the default doesn't show you the virtual environment prompt because Durenv doesn't allow you to modify the shell prompt. So how do you get around that? And there's just a short script that Trey wrote to put in your Z shell RC or in your bash RC file, and then now your prompt is back where it shows your virtual environment. So that's cool. Also, apparently the default is to put the virtual environments were placed in a different directory, like a .dir Python 312, and that's not. I mean, I don't know about most people, but at least me, I've always just stuck my virtual environment right in the project directory that I'm working on. So he has some switches for that. Also, dir-env, when you enter and exit, it like is very verbose about telling you that it's loading stuff. You can turn that off. Shows you how to turn that off. And then that's just the dir-env setup. And he's with virtual environments, but he's set it up so that with UV next. So after that, it's UV, and showing how to use all of this with UV. The thing that I think is kind of one of the things I wanted to point out that's pretty cool, that I don't know if we've talked about, is when you're creating a virtual environment with UV, you don't get pip with it because you're going to use pip or UV pip install instead of pip install. However, some extra tools need it to be there for some reason, and so you can say --seed, which it probably does
Mhm.
other stuff too, but it adds pip to your virtual environment. So be kind of cool if it just said --pip or something, but seed works. You just have to know that. Anyway, that's as far as I'm gonna get so far. He's also talking about Starship, and I think I will follow the Starship tutorial too, because one of the things I like is he teaches people a lot. So he doesn't want his shell prompt to be too crazy. And so he's going to have a fairly boring Starship configuration, and I'm glad, because I'd like to see how to do it boring first, and then like look at his other stuff. So
Yeah, those things can be overwhelming, but I really like having some of these things, like a prompt that shows you which virtual environment's active, which version of Python you're using. It's really neat.
yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so if you've tried Duranva before and it sort of annoyed you, maybe this tutorial might be for you. So
It might be for me as well. I'm not entirely sure. I recently updated. I use Oh My Z Shell plus Warp, which Warp is a super cool terminal thing. And for some reason, things weren't working quite the way that I was expecting. And with some of my Python virtual environment stuff installed versus system Python, it was odd. I think I was running PyTest from the wrong place or something like that. And it was driving me nuts. And I didn't realize, I don't know, I think I had PyTest extensions installed into, or plugins installed into a different place than I was trying to run it from. And that
yeah.
was the challenge. But yeah, I recently added to my profile this thing that will automatically activate virtual environments if you go into a place that's got somewhere in the directory tree a virtual environment. And if
Oh, cool.
you CD out of it, it'll automatically deactivate it, which is pretty dirt env, but I ended up doing that just with like a simple bash function.
Cool.
So anyway, however you go about it, I totally recommend it because I can see here exactly all the git status, all the the branch, everything. It's great. That's not what I want to talk about. That was just a fun little follow up. What I want to talk about is something from them, Lou, and they say, "Hey there, here's a cool topic for Python." So we've all heard of SQLite, and almost all of us have SQLite installed, knowingly or unknowingly, because Python itself ships with SQLite. It bills itself as the world's most popular database. I think Excel might be the world's most popular database, but pretty close, right?
Yeah.
They can, they're definitely titans. But the story you're told is I'm using SQLite for development or like a local storage, like a local settings file for an app, but it's not appropriate for production. This thing I'm about to talk about called R RQL instead of SQLite is pretty neat, and that's what them you recommended. Distributed SQLite, written in Go, but who cares? You can use it however you want, right? So come down here and let me open up their main website here. So rqlite.io. And if you go over here, you can see that it's got a couple of things. Fault tolerance, high availability, SQLite. How crazy is that? So basically what it is it's a data access layer on top of SQLite, but it also sets up distributed a distributed version of SQLite with replication.
Oh wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's super cool. So yeah, replacing Postgres with RQLite has simplified the software we ship to customers, says Mark Campbell. Yeah, so you come down there and see some other things it does. It says deploy in seconds, nothing complex to run, and then it gives you basically an HTTP API to talk to the database because it might live somewhere else in a cluster, right? But that really routes just internally to SQLite, and it integrates with Docker and Kubernetes super easily. Full text search, vector search, JSON documents, lots of
Oh
different
wow.
things. So if you go up here to, I think, getting started, yeah, quick start. Yeah, it talks about there's different ways you can install it. You could brew install the thing, or this is the way I've been doing all of my database servers lately, all my server type things, Nginx, MongoDB, etc., Postgres, is to just run a local version using Docker, so I don't have to install it or have it mess with my machine. So instead of brew install, I would just Docker run this thing and give it a volume, and it's good to go, right? A persistent volume, so you don't lose the data. And then you would just talk to it a lot like SQLite, but you can create a cluster of them, which is what's wild. And in the example they show, it's like, look, this is all localhost, but you probably would set them up to be running in different places, which is pretty wild. So you also have got like all the rules around eventual versus strong consistency and everything you do with clusters. So they've got a nice little write-up on trade-offs you can make for like reliability, performance, staleness, etc. Client libraries, Python ones, PyRQL, RQLite, and so on. One for SQL Alchemy. Yeah, a lot of neat stuff here. If you're looking for a distributed database and you're using SQLite, I think people should look at this. And thanks them Lou for sending this in.
Actually, a hook into the SQL Alchemy to RQLite is pretty cool. So that's
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
nice. All
Yeah,
right.
you got read-only nodes and all sorts of different things about how you can set up the clusters. You don't have to do clusters, by the way. If you want to just run a single instance of it, it says plenty of people do that. But if you want to have like the fault tolerance, high availability, then set up a cluster.
Cool. Neat.
Hmm.
Do you know what else is awesome?
I would guess that it's our sponsor.
Yes. Propeloth. This episode is sponsored by Propeloth. Propeloth is the easiest way to turn authentication into your advantage. For B2B SaaS companies, great authentication is non negotiable, but it can often be a hassle. With Propeloth, it's more than just functional, it's powerful. Propeloth comes with tools like managed UIs, enterprise SSO, robust user management features, and actionable insights. As your product grows, Propeloth adapts with it, supporting more advanced authentication features. And the best part, has native support for major Python libraries like FastAPI, Flask, and Django. You can easily integrate them into your product. When auth is effortless, your team can focus on scaling, not troubleshooting. That means more releases, happier customers, and more growth for your business. Check them out to get started today. The link is in your podcast player show notes. It's a clickable chapter URL as you're hearing this segment, and it's at the top of the episode page at pythonbytes.fm. Thank you to Propeloth for supporting Python Bytes.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Thank you. Now, Brian, I feel like I've snuck this one out from under you. This next one I want to talk about.
Okay.
We have a Python dictionary that can report which keys you used and which ones you did not use. Why
Hmm.
do I feel like I got this from you? This is like perfect for testing.
Okay.
Okay, so imagine I'm working with an API or some kind of data reporting library, and you send it some kind of dictionary, right? And you want to make sure, like, I want to make sure that it uses these three important pieces of information that are contained in the dictionary. And if you run your code, run either through a test or however you run it, but probably through a test, then you can ask which keys were used and which ones were not used. And if one you're like, nope, it's really important that they take this piece of information into account, and you see that it's not used, well, that's a pretty big hint that something's going on. And you might say, Mike, we'll just mock it out and we can check. But it's not that the function is called, it's that the function is called with a certain combination of different parameters over time, which I think is where it gets tricky, right? It's not like get item was called or get is called. It's that get was called with these seven values, but not this eighth value, right? And that's kind of like where I think this has, at least as far as I know, kind of a unique idea.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
Now, what I'm pointing at is this blog post by Peter Bankson, and it's very nice, but it's also very short, and it's not like exactly a Python package you just UV pip install and then run with it. Instead, it's more of just a simple little dictionary that people wrote, and then you can just access like what keys were accessed, which keys were not accessed, and it's got some sweet uh, step operations for that, right? Like the difference of a set and so on. So
Yeah.
you might want to extend this a little bit, right? Like copy this in. For example, one of the things they note, and there's some nice comment conversation at the bottom. One of the things missing is this works for square bracket access, which calls it under get item, but not dot get access. But
Ooh.
you know what? If you look at the way that get item is implemented and you rewrite the one that does get, I'll tell you what, it's like three lines of code and it's super easy, right? Like it basically just captures a key that was used into a set and then delegates to the underlying dictionary implementation. So there's not a lot going on there, right? So you can add that out. Another thing that's nice is there was a conversation about what would this look like if it was a typed tracking dictionary. And so someone in the comments provided a typed version with multiple generics. How about that?
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So I think you would definitely want to add the .get function to this. But like I said, it's like three lines of Python and it's not hard. So check that out. But yeah, I think this is a neat idea. If you're looking to test how a dictionary is being used on a key by key basis.
Yeah, it seems like it's ripe for a small tracking dictionary package.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is going to be like a sweet kernel of an idea for somebody who wants to put something on PyPI. And I put this in the show notes. Maybe someone wants to polish it up and put it on PyPI. That person is not me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or maybe
You
that
want a
person
free
is
puppy?
Brian. Exactly. I don't, but maybe someone else does.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we are streaming this episode, and I would also like to talk about streaming Markdown. It's a transition there, yeah. Anyway, so Will McGugan reported a few days ago that the textual that he and his team are, I guess, not sure if there's a team there anymore, but anyway, textual has a new version out, 4.0.0. So what's the big change? The big change is Markdown append. So this is kind of a neat thing. I thought it was cool to be able to see if I can get this to run. The gist of it is you've got Markdown. You can report to a Markdown widget that as you append to it, it just keeps going. So you can in real time add stuff to it, and it just sort of scrolls down. Anyway, that's the big thing. The one that's that maybe you don't care about this, but I brought this up. Well, that's like all of our topics, but I brought this up because I really like the thing that he did in bumping the major version. So he says why, the reason for the major version bump is because while he was implementing this, there was another part of the interface, widget anchor, that already existed, and that has changed semantics. So and it works better also. But the semantics change caused the major version bump. I wish more people did this. I think that a lot of people only change the major version if they change the actual signature, the API signature. And I think that behavior changes are completely, they're even more important to change the version because it's going to sort of run fine. It's just going to do something different. And that's something you really want to point out to users. So
Yeah.
applaud him for doing that.
Yeah,
Um,
Brian, I remember when I first learned C++ and I had some, for me at the time, complicated program. I was so proud of myself when I got it to compile
yeah.
in its behavior. I had to figure out all the bugs. And this is kind of like that, right? It's like it technically still has the same API signature, but it's down to the harder things to detect that are like breaking changes, right? Which is semantics and behavior.
Yeah. And that's the real one that gets you is if it seems like it runs fine right away, but there's a major version bump, you gotta check a look at your test to make sure that and probably it's just that you're not using widget anchor. And if you're not using it, you don't have to worry about it. But anyway, so there's that. And I was like, what can we stream with this? What would I want to stream into Markdown? Well, I've got another project that I wanted to highlight called HTML to Markdown. So this is a HTML converter that apparently there was another tool which I think I ran across before called Markdownify, that converts web pages or HTML stuff to Markdown, um, and to be able to. So I thought one of the features of it. Okay, so they completely rewrote the fork, but why? There's a bunch of extra features like HTML5 support, um, type safety, metadata extraction, and look at this, streaming support, memory efficient processing for large documents with progress callbacks. I'm curious if you could take a web scraper or something, or somehow take something that's streaming HTML, or use this to grab something large and have it reported to a textual widget. That'd be kind of fun. So
That is very fun. Yeah. Nice. I can also see if you're doing some kind of chat bot or LLM type of thing on the textual side,
yeah,
and you wanted to output the responses in Markdown. Like that's a real common
yeah.
sort
He
of
even
exchange format.
he even brings that up, like to efficiently stream Markdown content, like you might get from an LLM, right?
Like you might. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
So,
Cool.
all right.
Hey, I want to jump back to your first item real quick.
Okay.
Did you give this article a shout out as well? Because I know that you were thinking about it.
Oh yeah, I just didn't highlight it, so I didn't bring it up yet. So yeah, yeah. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, sure. I don't know a whole lot about it, but it is very neat. So, Mario, Python by Night, also did it's the terminal bootstrapping Starship, just dir env and UV, and talks about how you can sort of get things set up with that as well. So just it's already in the show notes. Just one more thing to throw out there.
Yeah, and so that's what's causing me to say maybe I should take another look at Durinv and Starship
Mm,
because other people that I admire are using it. So yeah, maybe it's worth looking at.
hmm Not like
Anyway,
me, who just vibed my way to a turn it on, turn it off automatically sort of bash function.
yeah.
You ready? Yeah, actually, you got any extras before we jump to the vibe?
Well, I the only extra I wanted to bring up is the reason why I'm wearing an annoyingly bright T-shirt today. Usually, I do a darker color because it shows up better on the better. But this is my Oregon Country Fair shirt that I got last Friday, so I'm gonna stand up so you guys can see it. And it's a
Awesome. How
lovely
was it?
Oregon Country Fair shirt. It was a blast. But I'm definitely feeling my age a little bit. We got there. It's 11 to 7, and we got there right before 11 to get a decent parking spot. Um, but you probably should. Usually we get there earlier to get a decent parking spot. Anyway, a lot of people. We were we It was pretty hot this weekend, so by it's till 7 o'clock, but like I don't know, like 3 or 4 o'clock, we were like, I think we're fried enough. Let's go home. So we wrapped
It
it
has
up.
been very warm and very sunny in the Pacific Northwest, contrary to what people think about the rain and the clouds.
Yeah, no. I think there's other parts of the country getting more rain than us right now. So
Indeed. All right. You ready for the joke?
yes.
Okay. So let me set the stage. I know many of you out there already know this. We've had several jokes. So if you've been progressing along the joke timeline with us, you will know what vibe coding is. Just for the folks who don't, though, vibe coding is when you go to an agentic programming model like Cursor, Windsurf, Junie for the JetBrains IDEs, that kind of thing, and you just tell it what to do. You don't need to touch the keyboard. You use text to speech. You just like build me this app. No, do it this way. Now make it that. And the joke is that it comes up with a bunch of mistakes, or it works on your machine, but you're not enough of a programmer to actually know, okay, that like this might work here, but it's not really going to work. So that's the joke. And the joke is switch back. There's an announcement for this new conference. Very exciting. VibeCon. Introducing VibeCon, the world's largest vibe coding conference. Make sure you register today. HTTP 127.0.0.1:8080/register. It says vibe coding is hard to attend. VibeCon is hard to attend. That's already funny. This is on Reddit, but if you scroll down into the comments, so good. Someone just says c:\vibe.html. Someone's no, that's wrong. file:/c:\vibe.html. What boomer posted this? Modern vibe coders gather up at HTTP ::1, the IPv6.
That's
Oh
funny.
my goodness. This is sweet, isn't it? Can someone
Yeah.
give me the prompt to generate the registration form so I can sign up?
uh, that's funny.
Yeah, somebody said tried to register and they took a screenshot that the page, connection refused. And it says
Oh my gosh.
tried to register for VibeCon. I guess my vibes weren't local enough.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say I'm dense. What is that URL? That 127.0.0.1.
If you're doing web development locally, that's where it will run. I
Okay,
don't
so
know
that
what server typically picks 8080. Maybe this is Node.js. Probably it is because like Flask is 5,000. Some of them are 8,000. Yeah. So, but it's definitely like if you ran it locally, you said build me this thing, it would work perfectly locally because this is like the dev address, but obviously it's listening only on local loopback, not it's not a real server.
I love it. Yeah, yeah. Haven't haven't
Vi-
haven't done a lot of vibing lately, but yeah,
No, definitely. VibeCon is definitely hard to attend. And Pat out in the audience says they run a lot of local APIs on 8080. Indeed, like internal. All
yeah.
right. Well, fun as always.
Yes.
Thanks for being here, Brian. Thanks to
Thank
everyone
you.
listening. And if you're not subscribed to the podcast, please click follow or the subscribe for free, whatever your podcast app button says to, keep getting automatic downloads to our free podcast. And if you're not subscribed on YouTube and you want to get notified, you want to catch the older things and all the stuff we're doing here, go over there and subscribe as well. Thanks and bye all.
Bye.